Now, Godzilla and Anguirus, well, they don't like each other. I don't know what it was, but I recall Godzilla saying something about Anguirus' mom, but I don't know, they just fucking hate each other's guts, and Anguirus is a worthy foe, but Godzilla just kicks his ass. There's an art to making people in rubber suits appear large, and they did a good job in the first movie by filming from low angles and with proper atmospheric haze and camera speed, but this one comes off a little cheaper and probably has the worst shot of Godzilla ever. An aerial view from a helicopter, and he isn't even moving. He looks just like my foot-tall Godzilla action figure. My favorite part is when Kong takes a tree and shoves it down Godzilla's throat. That's hilarious. He should have shoved it up his ass. Then there's this part where they look like two hand puppets. It's great. It's Cinemassacre's Monster Madness, Godzillathon. This one is considered by fans and critics to be one of the best of the series. The creature Mothra had already starred in her own movie, Mothra. She's basically a giant moth or a butterfly, but she's a good monster who only causes destruction when her twin fairies are in trouble. It may sound weird, but that's only because it is. In the US, the title was changed to Godzilla vs. The Thing. You mean that thing? Or this thing? Or that thing? Or do you mean Mothra? I think they were smoking crack. Now, throughout the film, Martians control the mind of a princess and use her voice to speak to the people of Earth and warn of the monster crisis. Meanwhile, there's assassins trying to kill the princess, so why couldn't the Martians choose somebody who's not a target? Godzilla and Rodan spend the whole movie fighting, further proof that Godzilla can't get along with anybody. This is my favorite part right here. Watch, it's the dick drop. Oh, that's gotta hurt. Also, when Rodan yanks on his tail, it's like his head is connected to every movement. The people of Earth agree to let them borrow Godzilla and Rodan to help battle Ghidorah, so they transport the two of them to the surface of Planet X to fight. It's pretty awesome because it's the only Godzilla fight to happen somewhere other than Earth. Their first match here is a victory and Ghidorah retreats. Oh my god, what the hell is he doing? This victory dance is one of the most famous moments of the whole franchise because it has no purpose in the film and it's completely ridiculous. So, the people of Planet X have something else up their sleeves. Ghidorah was in their control all along. Using magnetic waves, they also take control of Godzilla and Rodan and unleash all three monsters on Earth. I guess don't ever help an alien because all they want to do is take over the world.
Of course! Knock it off!
Godzilla looks like the Cookie Monster, and he likes volleyball. This is pretty awkward. During the fight, he lets his son get hit in the face with a rock and drags the poor little guy by his tail. After the fight's over, he clobbers him and walks away. Doesn't even care about his newborn son. Worst parent ever. But then he comes back and gives him a little ride on his tail, so it's all good. There's another scene where he tries to teach his kid how to breathe fire, even threatening to hit him. Man, what a mean dad. But the poor little guy can only puff smoke rings. That is until Godzilla steps on his tail. Okay, wow. Godzilla's Revenge. This movie is the wet core of the smelly dog turd, and we're gonna take a bite right in. Oh, there's nothing more sad than a grown man all alone wallowing in his sorrows watching Godzilla's Revenge, let alone making a video about it.
Godzilla says that I should learn to fight my own battles, you know.
So he escapes the kidnappers, and then he proves his newfound courage by beating up the bullies. And I don't know which fight is stranger, the monsters jumping around and flying through the air, or this ridiculous LSD-induced strobing fight with the bullies. Godzilla vs. the Smog Monster, also known as Godzilla vs. Hedorah, follows in the line of Godzilla's Revenge, targeting it towards kids. Little kids. Little kids who get hopped up on sugar to the point that their brains operate on higher levels of existence and their supersensory nerves subject them to a fantasy world that exceeds that of an adult on the most powerful narcotics known to science. He's sure come a long way since he first menaced Tokyo, an icon of destruction, now a savior of the planet. But not in a cool superhero kind of way, in a, hey kids, be good to the earth kind of way. The moral lesson of the movie is don't pollute, or else there'll be some weird shit monster that looks like a cross between Oscar the Grouch and the Blob. He's made of crap, so it's like Godzilla's battling a giant turd. Godzilla fights by waving his arms and dancing around. Even the chapter on the DVD menu says something you don't see every day. I agree. Godzilla vs. Gigan. Oh boy, this one just tips the crap scale. It's a shit fest that has to be seen to be believed.
I think it stinks.
When it was released in the US, they changed the title to Godzilla on Monster Island, even though only a few seconds of the movie actually takes place on Monster Island. That's like calling Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom Indiana Jones in Shanghai, but even that's being generous. When are they going to learn that planes can't kill giant monsters? It never worked before, so why would it work now? The monsters start talking.
Something funny going on. You better check. Oh, yeah. Hey, Aquila, come on. There's a lot of trouble ahead.
The two monsters fight like a tag team match. Definitely the highlight of the film. But its repeated use of stock footage wears old, and so does the Godzilla costume. It's been used in so many films that you can actually see it falling apart. Look at the arms. I can deal with that. But would it have been too much trouble to keep the famous Godzilla roar from fucking up? You gotta be joking, what happened? Sounds like somebody playing with a record. And if that's not enough, Godzilla bleeds. Come on, Angus, don't step in the saw, you dumb shit. The poster shows Godzilla fighting Megalon on top of the World Trade Center, something that never happens in the movie. There's not even a single scene that takes place in New York City, so how the hell did they come up with that? Also, not to mention, it would be physically impossible given the size of the monsters. Sure, King Kong could do it, but Godzilla's taller than the building itself. But the one reason why this movie stands out from all the rest is because of Jet Jaguar, a flying robot that changes size. I don't even need to say any more. You look at him and just laugh. Then the best moment of all, a priceless gem of cinematic entertainment that defies any law of reality that could possibly exist. Everybody in the world needs to see this. Watch. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Before the rematch, we introduce a bonus monster, a lazy one I might add, because it only wakes up if you sing to it. Mechagodzilla just unloads all his firepower and turns Godzilla into a blood sprinkler and twists his head around till it comes off. Surprising because his head seemed pretty flexible before. This is a great entry in the series, delightfully cheesy and enjoyable. Scientists find Godzilla's cells and combine them with that of a plant to create a giant plant monster which goes on a rampage. Well, then why'd you do that? You don't mix Godzilla cells with a plant unless you want trouble. Perhaps if they called it Godzilla vs. Little Shop of Horrors, it would have had more marquee value. In the first battle, Godzilla blows his head off and fucking fries that bastard. They replace the missing head with a robot one and equip it with all new weapons. And yes, this character is officially known as Mecha Ghidorah. There's a scene where Rodan flies over the Magic Kingdom in Disney World. Too bad he didn't stop off and take a shit all over Space Mountain. Mothra actually makes an appearance. You see, there's an explanation that somehow Godzilla's cells got carried on to Mothra when she flew into space, and that the cells went into a black hole and mutated as Space Godzilla. Now, as ridiculous as it sounds, I'll accept that, but they offer another explanation. That the cells came from Biollante, a creature spawned from Godzilla cells and plant cells, and that after fighting Biollante, the cells drifted up into space. I've never heard a movie give two elaborate explanations to anything like that, when one was clearly enough. It begins with one of the most incredible title screens ever. That's awesome. Well, you remember how he was born from nuclear radiation? Well, his heart is a nuclear reactor and it's melting down. That's the actual explanation in the movie. I'm not kidding. The name of the monster, surprisingly, isn't Destroyer. It's Destroyer! Yeah, that's the official name. Destroyer! Destroyer! But what we got was something that didn't even fit the requirements. None of Godzilla's trademark characteristics were incorporated. They actually kill him with missiles. Yeah, they shoot him down. That's it. There's also some weird thing about Godzilla laying eggs, which hatch into velociraptors. Yeah, seriously, it's just like the raptors from Jurassic Park. Clearly, this movie owed more to Jurassic Park than it did to Godzilla. But the problem with this movie is that they called it Godzilla. In fact, Toho officially renamed the monster Zilla. They even make a reference to it in the movie Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah Giant Monsters All Out Attack. Early in the film, when they're discussing the history of Godzilla, they mention that in 1998, a monster attacked New York City. The Americans think it was Godzilla, but it really wasn't. And later, in Godzilla Final Wars, there's a brief cameo where Zilla fights Godzilla and basically gets annihilated with one single blast of his nuclear breath. Too bad Zilla didn't have nuclear breath. Bottom line, Godzilla 1998 should officially be renamed Zilla. It's not worthy of God, it's just Zilla. But then, in what seemed like retaliation, Toho countered back with a new movie that was basically what the American version should have been. It was like a can of air refresher after someone took a nasty shit. He's so big, he's actually able to swallow Godzilla, or at least partially devour him like a snake eating a rat. But uh-oh, that was a bad idea. Oh! That's when he leaps in the air and does a body slam. Look, there he goes! So, okay, this one is called Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah Giant Monsters All Out Attack. Just rolls off your tongue. Now, as one would expect from the title, Mothra and King Ghidorah are present, but there's also Baragon. Why did he get left out of the title? Was it too long for just one more? Bottom line, nobody gives a shit about Baragon. There's also a monster from the Gamera series called Barugun that shoots rainbows out its back. That's Baragon and Barugun. Get it right. They're two totally, completely different things. They just happen to look almost identical and have basically the same name. Man, you don't fuck with Godzilla. He takes on everybody. Boom! 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 Once again, the plot revolves around the military who build Mechagodzilla to fight Godzilla. But this time, Mechagodzilla is built around the actual skeleton of the original Godzilla. Yeah, so the Godzilla in this movie is definitely the second of its kind. And the original Godzilla bones are now inside Mechagodzilla. So it's the new Godzilla fighting the old one. Once you're able to wrap your head around that, it gets even more crazy. There's actually traces of Godzilla's DNA in the bones, and somehow that causes a genetic memory that Mechagodzilla remembers that it was Godzilla and then goes on a rampage through the city. Now that's just mind-blowing. By the way, according to Toho, this is what goes on in New York City.
Yo, what's up?
Oh, come on, put the gun down.
No, see, it's too late for that. This here and a hand cannon. I'll blow your ass all the way back to Jersey.
Great! Go for it.
Yeah, guess that's about right. The first time I saw this, I was really taken back because I watch a Godzilla movie to see monsters fighting, not people. But now, I think it's pretty awesome because usually in a Godzilla movie, you get scenes where monsters are fighting and scenes where people are talking. So, the trade-in is that instead, you get scenes with monsters fighting and scenes with people fighting. So, it's all fighting, you can't go wrong. Of course, there's aliens involved. They come down in a spaceship that looks like Epcot's giant golf ball. They basically turn all the monsters loose to destroy the world. Anyway, the aliens repair Gigan, now with new weapons, and they send him to join the battle. But then Mothra shows up to help, and in the middle of all this, there's still all that kung fu shit going on. So Mothra gets killed, Gigan gets killed, and then it's just Godzilla against Monster X. But wait. Oh, here it comes. Oh yeah, it's Ghidorah. And how fitting is it that the last Godzilla movie puts him up against his most classic adversary? It's Cinemassacre's Monster Madness, Godzillathon.